Hello and welcome to our fifth session on this modifiers, and in this session first I am going to provide you the solution for making the nut for our nut and bolts challenge. In the previous session I had asked you to make a nut for our bolt that we had created, and then we are going to continue with other generate category modifiers. So coming back to Blender, I have currently opened my file nut using screw modifier 4_4. This has been opened, and now I will come directly into the outliner. And we had this bolt created in our previous session. I will switch it off, and I had created a backup bolt with screw, and I will switch it on, and I will come on the screen, select this, press Shift D to duplicate it, right click to place it at the same position, then come over to the outliner and now switch off this bolt with and select this bolt with screw 0015, and I am going to give it the name as nut. In the case of this nut, I doesn't want so many iterations because the nut will be smaller than the bolt. So for that, I will come into the modifier, and in the iteration, instead of 30, I will keep an iterations of around 10. So 10 iterations are enough. And then I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view. I will just zoom it in, and then in the view I will come into the wireframe view, and I will press tab, and I am going to just make slight changes in this profile. I am going to select one vertex at the top in between the top curve. I will select the middle vertex here, and I will just enable proportional editing, and then in the options I am going to choose smooth, and then I will press G, and I will slightly move it in like this. So to see this better, I will press Z and come into solid state view. Now similarly, I will select this vertex. I will press G, and with a small influence area like this, I will just move it in and create a surface like this. So I am going to create, I will select these two, I will move it and create a surface like this, so that these two matches like this. Okay, so now I have created a structure like this, and we are going to have a look at the inner surface now in case of this nut. So for then I will press tab and come into object mode. I will press 1 and come into the front view. I will come into the modifier screw, and then I will come here and click apply. So I have applied this modifier, and this entire thing has got converted into a mesh. Now I will press tab, and the first thing I will do is at the end of this profile where it is running, I am going to now come here and select all the vertices here at the edge like this on the top. So I will select all these vertices like this here. Then I am going to switch off this proportional editing. Then I will press S to scale it along the x-axis, and I will type 0, so that this becomes a straight line like this. Press 1, come into the front view. I will zoom it in, and I will press G and move it in and align it with this surface like this. And then I am going to zoom this out, and with middle mouse pressed, I will just turn it around, and I will select one vertex here on the top. Then with control pressed, I will click here to make a selection. Then with control pressed, I will click till here, and I will select all the vertices on the top ring except this. And now I will press numpad 1, and I am going to press E and Z to extrude it along the E axis like this. I will extrude it a little like this, and then I am going to press scale, yes, Z 0, and press enter. So now I have flattened it and made it straight. Then I will just turn it over here, and now in this case I am again going to come here and select this vertex here, then control click and select till this vertex. So all the vertices here are selected. Then with shift I will select this vertex. Then with shift I will select this vertex, and I am going to press F to fill this. I will middle mouse press, with shift pressed I will pan it down, zoom it down here, and I will come to the bottom profile here, and in the bottom profile also I will select this vertex with shift pressed I select all the vertices over here like this, and after I select all these vertices, press S, X and 0 to make this flattened like this, then press numpad 1 and I am going to press G. I am going to move it and place it so that this aligns with this like this. Then after this I am going to now select this vertex over here, and then I am going to actually press Ctrl and select the vertex till here, and then again press Ctrl and select till here, so that all the vertices at the bottom ring is selected. Now I will press numpad 1 and then press E, Z and move it down like this. Then even in this case I will press scale S, Z, 0 and I will press enter, so that this is flattened like this. I am scaled the Z axis to 0 to flatten it, and then I will come over here and then I have some overlapping vertex over here. You can see that some vertex is overlapping here. So what I can actually do is I can just drag a box here to select both these vertices, press M and choose merge at center, so that it got merged now. Okay. Now I will again select this vertex, and with shift pressed I am going to now select all these vertices like this. See here, I will select all these vertices. This I have merged. Now I will move here, select this vertex, and then press F, and I am going to create this surface like this. Okay. So this has been done. So you are seeing these gaps. We are going to adjust this later by using a weld modifier, so that I will cover it later. So as of now I will press tab, and now we are done with this inner surface of my nut. Then I will press tab, I will alt click and select here, I will select this top loop here, then I will press numpad 1, press E, and I am going to extrude it along the Z axis a little like this. Then I will press S and I will scale it up by around, I will select all these values and scale it down by 1.1 unit. Now just like last time, I have to now convert this into a hexagon. Starting from here, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 vertices. So I will select these 6 vertices, and right now this is curved in shape, but for a hexagon shape this should be straight. In the previous session we did it using a long procedure of deleting the vertices, then connecting it, subdividing it into 5 parts, linking it. It was a long roundabout process. But if you have gone to your edit preferences and in your get extension, if you have added this loop tools, this has been added in the last class. If you have added this loop tools, then I can just right click here, come into loop tools and choose G stretch, and when I select G stretch, you can automatically see that this curved path has got converted into straight path. So this saves us a lot of time compared to the procedure we followed in our previous session. So similarly, now I will start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I select this 6, right click, loop tools, G stretch. Similarly, I will start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I will right click, loop tools, G stretch. So same thing here, I am going to start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right click, loop tools, G stretch. So similarly here I will start from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right click, loop tools and choose G stretch. Then I am going to select from here 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right click, loop tools, G stretch. Similarly from here I will select 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I am going to select these vertices here. See, okay, so I have selected these vertices. Now I will right click loop tools and choose G stretch. So now I have got this structure here, which is you are seeing this as actually an hexagonal structure. Now I will alt click and select the entire top loop like this. Then I am going to press ES and scale it out like this. Okay, because now the bolt will be coming on the outside portion. So I will just scale it out like this. Press 7, come into the top view and see the size of your nut. So I will keep this as the size of the nut. Then I will press numpad 1 and I am going to press EZ and I will move it down till here. And then I am going to turn here, and with this loop selected, I will now come to the bottom with Shift Alt click. I will select this loop. So I have selected both this loop, and finally I will come to edge bridge edge loops, and you can now see I have got this nut structure ready. So if I press tab, I will right click and add shade auto smooth, and after adding shade auto smooth, I will come to add modifier generate and I will add subdivision surface, and I will add 2 levels in the viewport and 2 in the render. Then this is to make the edges sharper. I will press tab, press Ctrl or add a loop here, drag it in like this, Ctrl or add a loop here and drag it out like this. So similarly I will press Ctrl or add a loop here and move it up like this to have a sharp edge. Press Ctrl or add a loop here, move it down like this. And similarly at the bottom also press Ctrl or and add a loop here, press Ctrl or and add a loop at the center like this. So now if I press tab, you are seeing this nut structure. So I will come into the texture and the steel texture is already applied. Now here if I come into the texture view, you can now see our nut is ready. Only thing is these edges also I want it to be sharper. So for that I will press tab here, and coming over here I will just zoom it in and I will come into edge selection mode. I will alt click and select this entire edge loop. Then I will shift and alt click this edge, shift and alt click this edge. I will come into solid state to see it better. Then shift and alt and this edge, shift and alt this edge, and shift and alt this edge. So I will select all these corner edges, shift and alt and this edge. So I have selected all these corner edges, and then I am going to now press Ctrl B and I am going to slightly bevel it. I will bevel it by a value of around 0.01, and then if I press tab, now you can see that these edges have become more sharper. When we were building this, if I come over here inside and if you see this, you can see we have some small gaps here, and we wanted to clear these gaps. And to clear this gap, as we are working, I will also introduce you to one more modifier, and that modifier we are going to use is weld. So now selecting this nut, I will come into the modifier, coming to add modifier, and now I am going to introduce you in generate another modifier here called the weld modifier. So when I select this weld modifier, now if I zoom in and see inside here in the structures, now you can now see these structures that you have the gaps here. See, you can see the gaps here. So now to clear this gap, I will come into weld, and I am going to also here come and see the number of vertices count here. Right now this is having 45,533 vertices. So right now I am going to select this nut, and then I will come into weld, and I am going to now set the distance to around 0.01, and if I press enter, now you can see that all these edges are welded, and you can also see that the vertices count has reduced to 32,000. See, now you have a perfect finish here. So now if there is some kind of any articrafts appearing or zigzag patterns appearing, instead of 0.01 I can make this 0.006. I will make it slightly lesser and or 0.004. So you can now see it has 45,000 vertices here. So in 0.004, see whether you are seeing the gap still. So still a little amount of gap is there. So I will make it 0.008 here, and now you can see it has been reduced to 39,000 vertices, and now this is appearing fine. I am going to come here and switch on this bolt also, and I will switch off nut temporarily. And even in this bolt, if I just zoom it in, here you might have multiple vertices here. So if I see this bolt now you can see this is having 1,19,000 vertices. So what I can now do is, there are some repeating vertices available. So I can remove it in two ways. One is press tab, press A to select all the items and come into the vertex selection mode. Then press M, you will see this merge menu and choose by distance, and you can now see 1081 vertices have been removed. And you can see, so now if I press tab and come out, see now 1,19,000 to 1,14,000 vertices are there in my entire file now. Instead of this merge vertices, I can also now go to edit, and I am going to undo this, and I can come to undo history, and you can now see here the merge by distance. So I will come back to select mode here in the undo history, so that when I come back to select mode here, and now you can now see that in my scene 1,19,000 vertices are there, and again here you have the repeating vertices. Now in this case, now I am not going to use merge vertices, but instead of that, even for this I will come into add modifier, generate, and I am going to use this weld modifier, and automatically even for 0.001 meter distance you can now see that this has got reduced to 1,14,000. And the advantage of using weld modifier is that in this distance, as I change the distance, my model is going to change. Say for example, instead of 0.001, if I make it 0.5 and show you to you, see now the number of vertices reduced to 230. Say for example, you want to remove all the thread and want to make this nut a straight nut, then I can make it, say instead of 0.5, if I make it something like 0.2 or see 0.3, I can adjust the value like this, and now I can now see that all these cuts are gone. So like this I can weld the vertices here using this parameter. So you have mode all and connected. So in connected you can see that only the connected vertices are being now that is, these are the vertices which are connected, which is for which the weld is applying, and if I click on all, it will apply to everything. So right now in distance I will come back here and type 0.0002 and I will leave it at 0.0002, and this appears fine. And I will also enable this nut. So we have both our bolt and nut ready, and I will also come into the material. Material is already given, and if I come into the viewport shading, you can see this with the material, and now our bolt and nut project is now ready. So I will now come into the file, choose save as. I am going to name it as 04_05 nut bolt with weld, and I am going to now save this file. Now for the next modifier, I will come into file, new, general, and I am going to create a new file. And in this new file now, I am going to select this cube, press G, and I will slightly move it. Then come into the move parameters here, and in all the three and type 1. I am going to move it by 1 meter, and then now one of the corner of my cube is here. I will press tab and I will select the vertex which is at the origin point here. Then I will press Ctrl I to select all other vertices, press X and delete all those vertices. So now I have just one vertex in this cube, and again here the center or the origin point of this is here. So to shift it here, I will press tab, come into the object mode, come to object, set origin, origin to geometry. So now the origin point has shifted over here. Now I will press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and we are now going to understand the next modifier. So for that I will come into the modifier, and in add modifier I am going to choose this skin modifier. So when I select the skin modifier, then immediately you can see that just my one vertex, and that one vertex has got converted into a cube here. When I add skin, it is going to add a surface on all the sides of my vertex, approximately a cube all around my vertex. I can adjust the size of this cube that has been created by pressing Ctrl A, and if I drag it, you can see that this size is going to change. So I can reduce the size. I can press numpad 1, come into the front view now, and I will press E, and as I drag this, you can now create some shapes like this. Then I can press Ctrl A and reduce the size like this. Then I can again press E and pull it out like this till here, and I can press Ctrl A and change the size. Then press E and draw a branch here like this, press Ctrl A and make it very small like this, press E and pull it out something like this. Then I will come back, I will come into the wireframe mode, select this vertex, press E, and I am going to drag one more branch here, press Ctrl A, and I am going to reduce the size here like this, press E and move it over here. Then I will select this and press E and move one more branch here, press Ctrl A and reduce the size here, press E and move it over like this. So like this, I can also select this vertex here, press Ctrl A, drag it like this, press Ctrl A and make the size small, press E and drag out a structure like this. And now if I come into the press Z and come into solid state mode, you have some kind of structure created over here. Come into object mode, select this, and in a modifier, if I come here and choose in generate subdivision surface, and if I add 2 levels of subdivision surface, you have some structure like this, and this can be a tree trunk and branches, and I can add the leaves here. So I can create some structure like this and build some kind of structure. So I can select this, press tab here, come into wireframe mode, select this point now, again press E, pull it out like this, and press Ctrl A and scale it down. Then again press E and pull it down like this, somewhere here, pull it down like this, pull it down like this, press tab, and now you have some kind of structure created here. I will come into the solid state mode, and I have got some structure that is been created like this. So now I will come here and I will save this as tree with branches. So these kind of structures we can create it with the skin modifier. Right now I will switch it off. Now again I will press Shift A, and in the mesh I am going to come and add a cube, and after I add it, now I will again press G and move it, and in all the 3 axes I will move it by 1 unit. Then I will press tab, select this vertex which is at the center here, press Ctrl I, select all other vertices, press X and delete these vertices. Then press tab, come into object mode, in object set origin to geometry, and now I will press numpad 1, and for this again I will come into add modifier, generate, and now I am going to add first this modifier which is the skin modifier, and also I will come into add modifier, and I will also add one subdivision surface modifier and make it 2 levels in the viewport, and then I will now press tab and I am going to select this vertex, and the dotted line indicates that this is the root that we are using in the skin. So, if you come here in the skin, you can see make root, you have a feature. So, this is right now the root of my structure. So, if I click mark root, this will be the root, and this dotted red line indicates that this is the root that we are going to create in the skin modifier. So, right now I will press Ctrl A and I will scale this down a little and make it small, and then from this root I will press E and I will slightly drag it down like this, and I will press Ctrl A and I will scale it down like this. And now as I am creating, I am also going to come into add modifier generate, and I will add one mirror modifier so that you can see the mirrored one on the other side. Then I will select this and I will press E and drag it down like this to a point here. Then I will press E and move it down somewhere till here. Then I will press numpad 3, come into the side view, press E and I will slightly move it like this, and then I will press Ctrl A and along the x axis I will scale it. I will press Ctrl A and along the y axis I will scale it down and make it flat, so that now this appears like a feet. These are the two legs. Then I will come to the vertex point that is present here, press numpad 1 and I am going to now press E and I am going to drag something like this, and I am going to press Ctrl A and I will increase the size like this. Then I will press A and I will drag it till somewhere here to this point, and I will then press E and I will just drag it to the left like this and press Ctrl A and I will reduce the size and make it as small as possible like this. Then I will press E and pull out a hand here. Then I will press E and move out the hand like this. Then I am going to again press E, move it, and then I will press Ctrl A and along the x axis I will scale it out like this. So, I have made a hand like structure. I will come into wireframe mode, I will select this point now and I will come back to my solid state and I will press numpad 1 and I will press E and pull it out like this, and I will press Ctrl A and I am going to reduce this size. So, I will make this as short as possible. Then I will press E, pull it down. So, this will be like a neck. Then I will press E here and I am going to press Ctrl A and I will make it wider like this. Then I will press E and I will move it down like this. So, now I have something of a structure like a human which I have created just by using the skin modifier. So, then I will come into the mirror modifier here. I will press tab and come into object mode, and in the mirror modifier I will select it and click apply, and then come into the wireframe mode and I will press tab, and now here I will select all the vertices at the center, press M and choose merge at center. So, I am going to merge all these vertices, merge at center. I will select these two, merge at center. Then I will select these two, press M, merge at center, select these two, M, merge at center, select these two, M, merge at center, and this is already merged. I will press M, merge at center, this is already merged. You can see these vertices and I can select it, press Ctrl A and I can resize it, and I can select every vertex here and I can resize this, and now I have a structure like this. Now, you can create line arts and special characters like this. Say for example, I want this structure to animate, means press tab and come into the wireframe mode, select the vertex which is at the center, because this should be the root of my armature. So, I will select this and see that it is marked as root, and then I will press tab and I will now click on create armature. So, now what happened is you have an armature added to this cube. I am now going to call this cube as line man, and then I am now going to select this armature here, come into pose mode, and now what I can do is I can just select this, I can rotate it, and even say for example I press numpad 3, I will select this leg, I will just rotate it back, I will select this part and move it back like this, I will move this front like this, I will rotate it like this, and I can create this kind of animation here. So I can select this and I can just rotate it like this. I will come to the top view and I will rotate it to the front, and I will rotate it slightly like this, and similarly I will select this hand, come to the top view, I will rotate it like this, and I will just rotate it like this. I can create a pose like this. I will select this hand now, move it back like this, I will select this hand now, I will move it back like this. And now if I just come into the solid state mode, once I have created some animated structure like this, then I will come back into collection, deselect everything, I will come into armature and I will switch it off, and now you can see create something like a character walking here. Now I will come into the file and I am going to choose save as, and I will give it the name as 04_05B lineman walking, and I am going to now save this. So in this session we have experimented with the weld modifier and the skin modifier, and in the next session we are going to work on the solidify and the wireframe modifiers.